You know, it's hard for us to realize, but God works through established authority. God delegates his authority down. And you and I, to grow in the kingdom of God, because you know what we struggle with, honestly? Being raised in a democratic nation. Why do I say that? Because we feel that if we don't agree, we have a right to rebel. If we say we don't like it, then we can protest against it. But God doesn't work in a democracy. God works in a theocracy. And God said, when you're working for me, here's the deal. We have to learn how authority works and why they're there. Because if we read further into this text in Romans, he said that the authorities are there not as a terror, not as a problem for people who do what's right, but for people who do what's wrong. They are God's servant for your good. You're like, come on, my boss, my supervisor, my company. God said, when you understand this, listen, I'm up to something that you may not be aware of what I'm doing, but realize this, I work through authority. You see, we say, all right, I can handle God's authority. I'll work under God's authority, but I ain't submitting to my husband. I ain't submitting to my boss. I ain't submitting, but here's the deal. Do you know that as Christians, that we have the responsibility for unconditional submission? Man, it's quiet in here today. I just told you. You're looking at me going, what? Yeah, unconditional submission, because submission deals with attitude. And it's an issue of the heart. The Bible teaches unconditional submission, not unconditional obedience. Because as I said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they had the responsibility not to obey that because it was directly against what God had said. But they were respectful to the king who was over them. And you and I have this responsibility because here, listen to me. Do you know this? Submission is never submission until there's a disagreement. Think about that for a moment. It's all great and it's all good when you agree with it, right? It's wonderful in your home. Your kids are angels when they agree with everything you say. It's at the point that they disagree that you wonder, what? Whose kid is this? Right? Because submission is not submission until there's a disagreement.